Turning over.
Turn rolling.
Sound speed.
Scene 5, shot 2, take 1.
Action. Hello.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Same
I'm
shot,
sorry, I'm
same shot,
sorry.
same shot.
Go.
Action.
Please come in.
Camera rolling. Action.
Stop!
Cut.
One more.
Little by Little is a collection of 5 films directed by 5 first-time directors. They're inspired by Aesop's fables and the morals within. When we first got told about the project, we were put into groups of 5 and we got given a bunch of fables, such as The Lion and the Mouse, The Swallow and the Birds, and we then found the morals of each fable, and we were asked to create a story from that fable, and my group chose The Swallow and the Bird, and the moral was, don't try and be something you're not. There's loads of fables out there with loads of meanings, so you could literally do a film about anything with the topic for fables.
The audition process wasn't easy. It was quite challenging because it's getting them to do something that they don't know what you're asking of them, which is a very big ask because I couldn't tell them at the point, not just because I didn't want to, but simply because I didn't know what I wanted from them. But I had a very rough idea of where I needed them to go, but that wasn't enough to get them to audition as such. I couldn't give them enough to say, okay, here's a script, do this, because even that threw them off completely.
When I was sat there, like, I got all of my auditions ready and I thought, yeah, do you know what, I'm going to do this. And then I realised I wouldn't have enough time to do all 3 things that I wanted to do because they were like 5-10 minutes long, so I couldn't get out what I wanted to. So I cut it down to 2 things, but the 2 things I did, I couldn't see what I wanted from any of them, so it stressed me out, and I was like, I don't want none of these, I can't see anything. But then when, I think it was Larnaca, she did an audition and they were dancing together, and I was like, for Orsino, I thought, I could be really sweet. And then Chloe had one and it was aggression, and then I seen that he could do aggression, so I was like, oh, okay, then I'm going to pick him to be the main character as the dad, because he had both sides to him. So that did help having other people do their auditions as well, but I do think it was quite stressful.
Directing my first film is a lot harder than I thought it would ever be. I think the hardest bit for me has definitely been the organisation, and making sure that all, 10 people are all organised and know what they're doing and happening, and trying to translate that. I mean, everyone has ideas, but it's making those ideas become a reality, which is the sort of struggle that I'm facing at the minute.
It was a lot to just do on your own, and I hate doing stuff on my own. Like, I'm more of a team player, and I'm not a leader. Like, I'm not gonna say I can't lead, but I find it really difficult, and I hate telling people what to do. Like, I'd rather be directed myself and just act.
I feel like it's all fitting together. So like from when we first started, I had no idea what I was doing. I was like completely clueless, not worrying about everything, like how I'd put it into a film in 5 minutes. but it's all sorted out. My whole idea has been shortened and crushed into one little piece, which I feel is a lot stronger than it if it was longer. But I'm really enjoying it because horror is my favourite genre of film, so I feel like I have a few good ideas of what to do to make a film scary.
It's been quite tricky because where the person who was going to play the role as the mum, where she left and I had to fill in, it was good, but it was also hard. It was good because I could help get Ella and Orsino to come out of their role more, but it was also harder because I couldn't actually see what they was doing.
So my initial ideas were nothing to do with virtual reality, and then I went to Alan with my ideas and he was kind of like, think more outside the box. So I went away and thought quite a bit outside the box, and I got my inspiration from Black Mirror. I'd been watching that kind of season, and the way that everything was kind of very different but send a message. I really enjoyed the way they kind of portrayed everything. So I come up with the idea of a virtual reality and thinking about having someone kind of inside the game, but then I kind of wanted loads of little bits that would appear inside the game and cool things which weren't necessarily possible with the time and budget that we had and the skill set. So the hardest part for me really was kind of narrowing down my ideas into something that I could create in just 5 minutes rather than trying to make a feature film.
For me, it's been an interesting journey going from not ever making a film to actually discovering this whole world of creating stories for screen specifically, especially when I've done so much stage work and then having to be in front of a camera and it's a completely different technique of acting.
When it comes to film, you have to like do it repeatedly and also stand in certain places and also get the right lighting and stuff like that, so it's quite interesting to do.
Film is completely different, as in it's like little things just get captured and it might not seem like a big thing, but like when you see it on the screen it'll be like, whoa, that's like, whew.
You know when you're late and you go into a room and everyone looks at you and then like you just have to be like, I'm sorry, I'm late for this reason. It's like that, but it's so much worse because instead of people, it's people and cameras, and you've got to know what to look like, and you've got to remember your lines, and you've got to look like you're not remembering your lines. It was a lot, and I nearly broke the record for the most amount of shots that it took, and I'm not proud of that whatsoever.
It's a bit scary. Like at first, like, I was just like, even with the acting, like I was just really worried because like I didn't know what it's like to act on like in front, like with like everyone on set, and like just everyone's like staring at you, like it's really difficult. But it's also been fun as well. Like it's a good experience.
I sort of thought that when it comes to actual filming, it's going to be like, there's going to be a camera, she's going to tell us what to do, we're going to do it that way and we're done. I didn't sort of thought we're going to try something a couple of times. But then I realised, okay, we have to try a couple of times so Chloe actually got something to work with when it comes to editing.
It's such a stressful situation, but it's so calm as well, because if we do mess up, we've got another take. If we do something wrong, we get director's help in pushing ourselves forward.
Usually when there's a camera around, I feel like I have to just, oh look, a camera, I got to entertain people, do this, do that, but like now I actually feel like I have to pretend there's not even a camera there and actually play a character and get into it and try not to mess up so you don't have to do loads of takes, because it's not fun being out there in the cold.
I think the most surprising thing for me has been how long it's actually been to take each shot. It takes so much longer than I thought it would. I thought it would be like kind of you go, you take it and you're done, but actually it's like there's a whole process of things that need to be done and the little details that you miss and that are different each time.
I didn't expect it to be so intense. Like I think literally just when I'm acting, like, and everyone's just like stood there, but like the microphone thing, I didn't expect it to be really close as well.
It has been very, very honestly nerve-wracking. Not just the fact that it's a main character, but the fact that I'm representing a character with learning difficulties, and as I've done research and just due to my own experiences, writing a character or playing one with learning difficulties is extremely difficult because you always have to do it in a way where you don't end up stereotyping the character or having a checklist character, which is just a bunch of symptoms, not really a fully dimensional or four-dimensional character. and that is an issue really. And there has been a lot of moments like when I've been thinking, by the way, like, am I representing it right? Is this going to come across as offensive? Is it based on a degree of truth? Which is why you have to do your research, obviously. A lot of research into it.
Given like my production role and like things like this, as well as acting, it's been very interesting just to see like it from both perspectives, I think, because I've only ever really seen it from one perspective primarily. So to see it from both equally, it's been really interesting.
As a group, we probably come together more because when you're working with people, you gel with them, you see how they work, you bounce off them a bit. So as a group, I think it's going to push us forward because we're going to have to do a festival soon, if you didn't know. So Stroud Shakespeare Festival, thought I'd plug that out. Nice one.
I don't know, it's really hard to explain because when you see it, not on a camera, it's so different, and in my head it had to be perfect, but on camera I feel like it's even better because I can actually see it like visually instead of just in my head. But I feel it's took me so by surprise of how well it's gone so far, but I don't really want to jinx it.
While doing some shots I think, oh yeah, that looks amazing, that works so well, and then we're doing other shots but then everyone else is giving me ideas. So the for instance the shot we did where I said I want someone backing out the house, I didn't realise we could just use the slider camera to go up and then our legs walking across, and for me that shot was really good. Like I was really impressed with that because I didn't know it could work like that.
I love being on set, I just don't like being in charge. I like watching everyone else act and direct, and I like to just help. Like just getting like batteries and stuff just makes me feel useful.
The other thing that's been really surprising for me is how much there is I have to do on a set. Like how many people I have to organise and all the different things. I mean, the sound recordist we're using at the minute unfortunately doesn't know much because he's being trained, obviously. My DOP doesn't know much, so it's all these different sets of training that need to go along, and I have to spend a few extra sort of minutes making sure he's getting it right and explaining stuff to him. And obviously the cast are all new, we've all come here to train, so they're not sort of up to specs and it's hard to translate.
I like the unexpected shots, which shouldn't work, but at the time they just work, and it might be a rehearsal or a shot that you've literally just thought of and you're like, oh, we'll try that out. And just having them little moments where they just come together, that was one of my favourite parts. Like particularly one of my favourite shots in my film is when Kai and Rowan are running and they just go bang and Kai just falls to the floor and you can see he's actually in pain, but he managed to pull through it. And I have to use the shot because the quality of it is so natural and real that it just works, even though it's very funny.
I don't know, like sometimes I feel like I'm organised and then other times I feel like I'm a mess. But I guess that's life.
Again.
I'm so ready.
You're not recording, are you, Alan? Stop! No! Start over.